David, I'd first love to hear, and if any of the producers want to chime in, about how you all got connected and the journey of how this project came to be.
So how do I make a long story short? So it really started off with me just wanting to see a father-son story. You know, I just really want to see an intimate portrait of a black father raising his son. And it didn't really come about until I started speaking with parents who was raising children who had Down syndrome. And for me, it grew from a project that I wanted to make to a film that I needed to make. And after I kind of got the cosign from the community to, you know, go ahead and tell the film, I wrote it in 3 months in the fall of 2022. And I sent out a first draft to Kiah Clingman and Kristen Uno, our producers. And it was an ugly first draft, but it was done. It was done. And so after we got the draft completed, we submitted it to the AT&T Untold Stories program. And they accepted the film to be a part of their pitch competition. And so they flew us out to New York. We stood in front of an audience of like 100 to 200 people with 6 panelist judges, and we ended up winning the competition. And then the strikes happened. And so we weren't able to start filming until late January 26th. And we had to have the film completed by May 17th. Wow. And we got it done.
Yeah, you did. And so from Untold Stories, it came with a $1 million prize and a year-long mentorship. I'd love to hear about how winning that experience benefited the film.
I mean, every film needs money. You know, let's call it what it is. You know, especially in this time where you don't see a lot of indie films such as Color Book being financed and produced. And to have a brand and an organization kind of back it was the necessary thing that we needed to actually do the movie and then also complete it. So we always feel like we need programs like AT&T Untold Stories programs to help push indie films because, you know, to be honest, like I'm concerned, you know, about the indie film industry and how we're going to continue to tell these intimate stories.
Definitely. Jeremiah, I'd love to hear from you about how it was working on the film and with David and Will.
It's great. It's great. I'm just working with Will, Kiah, and David. They're helping support me, and then I'm hoping to thank you for to stay locked in. I'm perfect son and play with Mason, and then I'm super ecstatic. So thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I'll see you guys. Good job, and thank you.
Yep, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
And Will, you do such an incredible job in the film as Lucky. I'd love to hear about, yes.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear about your experience working with David and Jeremiah, and if you need to do any research or what your process was like for getting into character.
Well, I'll start with Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a second cast, and he flew in and we met. And I remember having a 2-hour conversation with David, and we were discussing, you know, who the kid will be. And I remember telling David, I said, that's my son. And his parents have done such a great job raising him. And where I pulled most of my knowledge from, or how I was going to portray Lucky, was really looking at Terrence, his father. And so when he would bring Jeremiah to set, and there were days when I would see him, and, you know, as a father, you're tired. As a father, you love your kid. You have good days. You have not so good days, but they're all good days. And so a lot of my inspiration was really pulling from him and Jeremiah's mother for the sensitivity. And so I was finding that balance. Okay, how hard can I be on him, but how soft can I be on him? And I would really pull that from Terrence. So thank you, Terrence. Yeah. And as far as David, I remember when this project came to me, like 5 people told me about this project. I was at church and someone's like, hey man, they got this project color book. And when I had my conversation with David, and as we spoke, I'm like, well, no one can play this role but me. That's what I felt. And when I got to meet him in person, it was like a match made in heaven.
We can definitely see that on screen. I'd also love to hear about how you worked with Jeremiah. Did you guys hang out a lot before shooting, William?
Not really. We kind of just started, but then, what was the restaurant we always went to, Terrence? Optimus. So a lot of times in Atlanta, we would just hang out at Optimus after we would get off set. And so we would do a little bonding and stuff there. And that's how, but Jeremiah and myself, it's just, that's my kid, you know? Like that is my, like coming here is great and seeing the film, but I couldn't wait to see him because I haven't seen him because they live in Denver. And, you know, this is someone that I'm going to watch grow up, you know? And you felt that, and I'm sure you can, you know, feel it when we were on screen together. It was just natural, you know? He was, we had this thing, we had this running joke on set, like, who's the movie star? And he will always say what?
I remember we started and you're not.
And then when he mentioned to you about staying locked in, that's when we would say, you gotta stay locked in, Mason. You gotta stay locked in. But this boy had a whole entourage on set. Everybody was surrounding him. But you did such a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of you. And may the grace of the Lord be on you so that you can continue doing this work at even a higher level.
I'd love to ask Nicholas, the cinematographer. I heard you flew in from Germany, and this is your first time seeing the film. First of all, you did an incredible job. The black and white imagery is stunning.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to hear about the decision process between you and David about, first of all, your collaboration process, but then also the decision to shoot in black and white or to make it black and white.
Well, the decision to shoot in black and white was kind of like already done when I came on to our first conversation. David mentioned the black and white to really focus on the characters and not be distracted with color and anything else. So that was a good thing. David is a very visual director. He has a very distinct idea of what he wants to tell. And I think in the collaboration as a cinematographer, you're trying to understand the director as much as you can, get into his head, is what I called. And then I guess I'm bringing in my own sensitivity and sensibility and my understanding of the story and interpretation, and hopefully add to his vision. And then, yeah, in our case, we had these two beautiful characters, and we treated it as, yeah, we want to be guests in their life and just observe them. And yeah, that's what we did.
It's beautiful. So, David, you're a native New Yorker, but you told me you grew up in Atlanta, and the film is almost like a love letter to Atlanta and the communities surrounding it. Can you talk about your relationship with the city and its culture?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was born in New York City, but I left New York when I was 2. So all I know and remember is growing up on the east side of Atlanta, Georgia. And so for me, Atlanta is a very beautifully complex city. That's how I'll put it. It's not perfect, but it's just right. And I always saw beauty in the city. And whether it was the realistic portrayal, it was how I saw my community. And I wanted to honor it with every bone and vein in my body that, you know, this city has this beautiful moments. You know, yes, there's some conflict, but there's a heartbeat to the city that I wanted to elevate and present to the world. So many people who I've met, they've never been to Atlanta. And this is their first interaction with the city, and I wanted to make it a positive one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I'd love to ask Dabney, the composer, music is such a crucial element in cinema. What was the starting point for composing for Color Book? And can you talk about your process?
Yeah, so We actually, Dave and I met during the process of getting the pitch together for Untold Stories, and Kristen had introduced us, and that's kind of when the conversations started. And then from there, I mean, we talked, I don't know, I mean, we must have talked once a week, like for 3 months leading up to, you know, just like on the phone for a couple hours, just like, man, you listen, I just listened to this record, like go listen to this. You know, it's just like having musical conversations and trying to find like, you know, what the sound for the film might be. Because a film like this would be very easy to like, you know, because it's like they're on this journey. They're going from, you know, point A to point B to point C all the way to point Z. And so it'd be really easy to score it in a way that's like, okay, this music's like propelling them and like, but we wanted, you know, we had so many conversations about like, that's not the point of the music in this film. The point is like, we want to score the space through which these two characters are moving. Like we want to be able to hear Atlanta, and we want to be able to hear like, you know, this intimate relationship. Like, what does that intimate relationship sound like? Like, not what does the emotion sound like what does the relationship sound like? What does fatherhood sound like? Like, what does Atlanta sound like, you know? And we got into the weeds, like just having these conversations, and like, we really got into it. But I mean, that's a really, you know, grandiose answer to that. But
I would like to say with Dabney, not only he had just the heartbeat to understand Atlanta, but he also had the understanding of when not to use music. And sometimes composers, they just want to put score from the top of the film to the end of the film.
Yeah.
And Dabney was very, very serious about, hey, let's scale back. Let's be very minimal. Let's allow the soundscape to be the score of the movie rather than the actual music. Mm-hmm. And so collaborating with Dabney, it just wasn't about music, but it was about how do we build the soundscape to illustrate the relationship between Lucky and Mason, but also the city of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Very successful at that. I would also like to hear from anyone on stage. Were there any particular challenges during production or special moments that you can share that may have happened?
You want to give one? I give.
Hold on, before, let me say one thing real quick, because all my scene partners were great, and Kim Folk is standing right here right now. And, you know, he helped give me Atlanta. He helped give me that feel. And I know you're going to speak, but I wanted to properly introduce you, brother.
Listen, man. First of all, y'all know, give it up for this man, Will. He's incredible. It's incredible. This movie was special to me because I am a special needs father with a son with autism. And you can hold this for me real quick. See how I got to coordinate. You see how I coordinate right there? You know, I'm going to have to coordinate real quick. And shout out to my tailor, let y'all know how we got down. But being a supporting figure to what he's going through, you know, I just saw a lot of what me and my son, Jameson, who's 13, what we go through. As my oldest son is over there and we was watching the movie together, he pointed out certain parts. As when you have a son that's non-speaking, and I would have with autism, they do what's called eloping. They may run away sometimes, just thinking you're playing and stuff like that. And when we moved into our new home, before we got the alarm put in, my son thought it was cool to be able to just run around the neighborhood and just discover the neighborhood when we didn't know where he was at. So when Will's character was, you know, it's hard to me even watch that part of it because, you know, he's on the train's going the other way, he doesn't know where his son is, and I felt that emotion because I didn't know where my son was at in this neighborhood when he was in the neighbor's house eating chicken that he never met before. But that's what happened. But so, you know, just seeing how David hit spot on with the relationship of a special needs parent and the child is that story just is not told enough. And I just commend you, too. Corvus is around here somewhere as well. And David, you know, for telling this, and you, Kristen, as well, but just, and you, Kiah, but just telling this story, because this story is not told. It's like when you are a special needs father or mother, you feel like you're on an island. And I'm sure, Terry, you can attest to that, like you're in your own lane. So to be able to see this happen and be able to tell this story and be a part of it was an incredible, incredible thing. And I just thank God for the opportunity to be able to be a part of it.
I would say that, hi, I'm Kristen. I was one of the producers on the film, also up here with Kiah, one of the producers in Art Youth Naturi. I'd say that, one of the first challenges that we faced was kind of figuring out how to film on MARTA. The entire film is built around this journey and the train. And we just knew that we had to make that work to make the film work. So, I will say that one of the other challenges we faced was the strikes, but one of the bright sides of that was that it gave us a really long period of time to talk to MARTA, to share the story with them, to work with our producer team to pull all of their connections and to be like, hey, this is a beautiful story and a wonderful opportunity and a really loving and beautiful way to like show MARTA as a part of, the heartbeat of Atlanta. So we were just so thrilled when they wanted to partner with us. So something that we thought was going to be really challenging, and we were initially talking about like, well, what about green screen and what about visual effects? And we were really able to shoot everything pretty much practically, which was the dream. And honestly, like given our limited resources, like, the best way to do it. So yeah, that was something that really worked out for the best, and they were amazing to work with. And yeah, being able to film on a train that we had all to ourselves to ride up and down the tracks is, in hindsight, really special because, when we were in pre-production, we were like, we're never going to be able to get this. Like, it's just not going to happen. We're going to have to figure out some crazy way to film this in some other way. But, dreams come true, so. So well done.
I don't really have a challenge. Hi, I'm Naturi. And I'm just super inspired by you, David, and everyone here. My husband and I had the opportunity, shout out to my husband too. We had the pleasure of, no, for real, because jumping into a project like this, I think it took courage. This was our first project, and seeing this script and this story, it was so simple, and I just want to commend that it's not a story that has to be fantastical. It was just a pure story of a Black father loving his son while grieving and trying to take him to a baseball game. I really connected to that. So shout out to you, David. Shout out to the team. Shout out to everyone who's been a part of this. It wasn't, I don't see it as challenge. I felt like it just made everyone better. All the challenges of MARTA and the train, it made us better. So thank you guys for supporting our film.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiah Clingman. I'm also one of the producers. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I think echoing what the entire team said, but really emphasizing what David said. I mean, having a year to make a film is already very difficult. $1 million budget. You hear $1 million and you think that is a lot of money, and it's really not. And those strikes, I mean, like he said, we didn't start shooting until January 26th, and we wrapped March 4th, and then we did a pickup day in April, and then had to deliver the film in May. That's unheard of. So, like, I just really, really want to thank our cast and our crew, our post-production team, for killing it. I mean, y'all were like, we had our editors that started working the second day of us being on set. So this is really a labor of love, but it also just shows, I think I'm very proud of what we did in Atlanta. I'm not from Atlanta, but I've been there. I'm adopted from Atlanta. I've been there for almost 10 years. I love the city. I'm very passionate about employing filmmakers both above the line and below the line in Atlanta. And we got to do that. We got to hire cast from Atlanta. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I want to make sure we're able to continue to make films that reflect the city in an authentic way. So thank you again, David.